So today I want to talk about a very nuanced form of grief, and one that has a lot of people involved. This is called living grief or ambiguous loss. It is a form of grief experienced when someone is still physically present but psychologically or emotionally absent, or vice versa. It is pain mourning. It is the pain of mourning someone who hasn't died but is no longer the person they once were, or is no longer present in your life in the same way. Common examples of living grief is Alzheimer's or dementia, addiction or mental health, estrangement, divorce, a breakup, incarceration, deportation, gender transition. And they say that living grief can be especially difficult because there's often no clear closure. So society may not recognize it as real grief, leading to disenfranchised grief. It can be ongoing and with no defined endpoint. It may involve conflicting emotions like love, guilt, anger, hope, sadness all at once. And I think that this is such an important thing to talk about. One, because it's something I'm dealing with right now. And always try to make this content as real and live as possible. So, a little bit of a story time. I have had an estranged relationship with my biological mother for the past 6 years or so. It feels more like seven, but this last week we got to that point where I had to make a decision. I had to decide if I was going to keep tiptoeing around her coming in and out of my life, or if I was going to let go for my sake. And I decided that I wanted to be done. Not because I want to hurt her, not because I'm trying to get back at her for everything that happened. Quite frankly, it's just because I'm done. You know, I told her, and I've told a lot of people while talking about it, that I have been grieving her for years. I genuinely feel like I started grieving her the day, when she and my biological father got divorced because she became a different person. She went from being a stay at home mother of four to a single mother of four, and even she'll tell you that that changed a lot for her. Um, but what I needed from her, I never got. And that left me with a ton of issues. So, grieving that mother figure relationship, that role in my life for, I mean, from 7 to 18, really, it was one of those slow things. It wasn't all at once. It wasn't as tragic as loss of, the death of a person is. But it was something that it kept evolving as as I was living life and doing what I was doing for the past 7 years. That it got to the point where I was like, for me, you're gone. You've been gone. It's just poking and prodding every time you want to come back, and I'm done. And so I explained that to her. I told her we're not there yet. I don't really want to do that because I was adopted. So my adopted family is more than anything or more than everything to me. I have no holes that need fill. I'm not missing anything. My life is pretty full, and I have no desire to add chaos back into my life and add uncertainty and add drama back into my life when I don't have it right now. And that's what I think of when I think of my biological mother. But I didn't just lose her when I lost, or when we separated and she disowned me. I lost my older sister. My sister is about 5 years older than me. She has four children now. Her oldest is 8, and I raised her for the majority of the first 2 years of her life. Every first that she had during that time I was a part of, whether it was first plane ride, first time in the ocean, first time seeing Christmas lights, first time hearing music. Her favorite song to this day, well, I don't know if it's to this day, but her favorite song for a long time was when I sang to her the day she got out of, or was brought into this world. Her younger three, I have never had the opportunity to really build a relationship with. Not for lack of trying. just acceptance that I can't have one without the other. And as much as I would love to, that's a line I have to draw. And so, after talking to my adopted mom and my other biological sister, and who is, in the same boat that I am in, or similar to the same boat I'm in, I decided I wanted to send her a video, and I did, and basically just said goodbye. Told her that I love her, I wish her the best in life, I hope she has a really happy life, but I don't want her in mine. And that was really hard because for years it was always, oh, you're replacing us, or oh, you just want to go live with your better family, or and I didn't want to be the villain in her story, but she wouldn't listen. She wouldn't give me space when I asked for it. She wouldn't accept that I don't want to talk. And last week, when she tried to make it or pick up like nothing had happened and start telling me how great life was with her other grandkids and, her other child, I was like, I can't do this. I won't do this. So I didn't just lose her, but in the climax of this whole, drama with my mother, she went back to where a lot of our biological family is and spreaded a bunch of drama, twisting me all up into the bad guy. And so I didn't talk to my aunt, I didn't talk to my cousins, and I couldn't talk to my grandmother. And anytime I was talking to those people, it was always, I can't believe you would do this to her. I didn't do anything. So I know that I'm not the only one that experiences stuff like that. In fact, I love it when musicians pour that kind of stuff into their lives. And this song is what I call an oldie but a goodie. It's a song I've heard since I was like 14 or so, and it's Piece by Piece by Kelly Clarkson. And if you know anything about the song is very much about her relationship with her father and him leaving her. And then for a while there, it was about how her husband has stepped up and filled those roles. If you know anything about her life, you know that she got a divorce in the last few years. And so she was doing, it's a whole video, I'll share it down below. But she was doing this performance, and she was talking about Piece by Piece. And she said, I had to do the song, like, people have been asking for the song. I know it's probably the only song in my career that I'm going to keep changing and evolving as I grow and live and life and all that kind of stuff. And so she sings it, a little different version of it. And I want us to watch that, so I'm going to play that real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Right? I have been a fan of Kelly Clarkson pretty much my whole life, and I have cried with her music and singed my heart out with her music, but never had I heard one of her songs that related so personally to my life and my storyline than this one, on both the father and the mother side of it, because I don't really have a relationship with my biological father either. Um, so she, right as her lyrics transition to the new parts is right after she sings the line, "The holes that you burned in me at 6 years old," and so she starts with that, learning how to love herself and letting go of shame, and learning that a heart can still beat even if it breaks. And I think that there is something so poetic in it. And I get so emotional talking about it because, you know, this life is guaranteed that our hearts will break. And people are fickle things. But she turned this song that was recognizing someone else in her life into recognizing herself. Because all along, she has been the one consistent. The choices she made or didn't make, um, shaped her into being who she is. And now she gets to share her gifts with the world and, be that voice to hundreds and thousands of people who relate and who are going through something very similar to her. And I love this because, when she talks about at the beginning of the video about this song keeps changing, keeps refining, I think this should have been the original song the whole time, because she was the consistency, and she did that, and she stayed, and she became a different parent than the one that she had, and I think that is just, it's so beautiful. It's what I want for sure. And then she's talking about her kids, and it's a promise as well as a, this is what it is. She says, "I fell far from the tree. I will never leave them like you left me, and they will never have to wonder their worth because unlike you, I'm going to put them first. I'll never ask for money. I'll never break their hearts. I'll be there when love leaves scars." And, I think that it's so beautiful because that's the one gift that we can get from poor relationships, is that even if they teach you what not to do, there are still lessons to be learned. There are still things to be grateful for. I told my mother, and I tell a lot of people, I am grateful for her. Had she never chosen to walk out of my life, and tell me she wanted nothing to do with me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. My sense of responsibility and, solidarity towards my biological family would have outweighed any personal desire I wanted, because that's what it had done my entire life. But in telling me that, she let me go. And I was free. I was free to pursue what it looked like to put me first. And then in turn, knowing how it looks like to put me first, I'll know how it looks like to put my children first, and where my needs should end and theirs should begin. And I think that that's just so beautiful that, Kelly Clarkson is willing to do this, and gift this to us. I saw this randomly scrolling through YouTube this week, and I immediately sent it to my sister, who, her and I she's the only biological family that I really talk to, and her and I have gone through very similar experiences with our biological parents, and so if anyone was going to get this song, she would. And so I sent it to her, and then I was like, "Hey, call me." And we talked on the phone for hours, and it was just processing all of this, and being like, I don't want to be the bad guy, but I just don't want it. Like, that is the hardest thing to do, is to overcome sense of responsibility and connection of what society tells you. Oh, that's your mom, right? But my mom left me first. I just didn't stick around. And it's liberating, but I know that there will still be days that it hurts. And there will still be days that I think about what could have been, and then think about how grateful I am that it didn't. I love my adopted family. I think everybody deserves to have somebody who meets those roles in your life, whether that's in-laws or chosen family or church family or you get adopted. Everyone should have someone in their corner that you don't have to prove a thing for, and you don't have to do anything for. And it's okay to want that. It is okay to carry the weight of cutting that relationship off for your sanity and your growth and your mental health. Because at the end of the day, you get to decide who has impact in your life. So that is it for this week's From Grief to Healing Friday, or FG2H Friday. Not all grief is tangible as the death of a person, but all grief is seen and recognized here. And I hope that this has connected with you, even if you haven't lost somebody physically. If you've lost them in another way, I'm very, very sorry. I see you. And I just hope that you find whatever it is you need and that those roles get filled in your life. I'll see you next week.